This is a Sprinter, I think. It's all faded. Doesn't matter anyways. That piece is probably all going to come off unless we can really salvage the top, but it's got some warpage up there. There's this whole front wall is not doing well. I believe we're putting a roof on this thing as well. And then you can see all the decals are really faded here. So right now we're just trying to get the front wall and the back wall squared away. And this back wall, well, that's not good. That's a little poofy. Hey there. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but boy, it's got an arc on it right there. Let's see if we can go down here. Should be able to see all that. Gotta hold the camera there. So all that's coming out, and especially up near the top, that's really bad. I can see the lights and everything. You can see there's a bow in it, like this, out in there, right in there. So if you're going to buy one of these, and you go, hey, I'm gonna buy one of these, you want to, first thing I'd be doing is looking for that, right off the rip. You want to go around, press on it. That's not good. This thing here, the way it's flexing and everything, that's a dead giveaway. But the other thing you can do, I don't like this insert trim. This is a cheap stuff. What you do is take this, pop out a few of these screws. If they're all rusty, if the shank of those screws are rusted, you got some wall damage. I'll bet when I take that apart, that's what'll happen. So you can take, because then even if you do that, take a screw out, you can always set this back in, it just snaps in. But the other thing I don't like about this insert trim, when it sits in there like that, when it does, typically the water will travel in that track still, and then it'll go down here. It'll go down here. Look at all that trash in there, like literal trash right in there. Yeah, let's see how I zoom up a little bit. How does that get in there if it's sealed? So the water will get down here, and then if it can't get out, then it's going to kind of run along here and it'll rot. Wow, that's not good either. That may be what I'm talking about right there. But that's how you can check it. You know, go around a coach, you want to check these things out before you spend money, and someone says, hey, I want a boatload of money for this. You go, well, it's not really worth a boatload. Maybe more a kayak load, but not a boatload. You know, you see all this caulking? That's kind of a dead giveaway. You got some issues with this, coach. I haven't even seen the roof yet, but like I said, we're just trying to get these, we've got to get this opened up and get the front opened up, get those repairs going, and then we can get the roof on. And I mean, right off the rip, right here, I mean, look at there. You're going to have to cut this whole piece out and put a whole new piece on here. I mean, you know, once you get that kind of contamination on your coach, you might as well just, it's got a monkey on its back. I'm telling you. So even around here, you got to get all this caulk. See, that's beautiful. That's all dried out. That is all dried out. So what'll happen is when it dries out, it'll pull water back in. So you want to cut that off, and you want to, as long as it's not silicone, then I don't recommend you put silicone on it. But you can put on a lot of different things. There's so many different caulkings out in the market. I just don't like off-the-shelf silicone. The stuff that we use is different. It's a commercial industrial grade. It's much better. It does stay cleaner. So that part of it I do like. But if you go to Home Depot, you can get Lexel. You can get, you know, even DAP makes a pretty good product. There's quite a few of them out there. I'm trying to remember some of them when I walk by, but I don't ever buy any of that stuff. Quad, OSI Quad, that's a pretty good product. So you can look at that if you want to put a clear. But like I said, you want to go around all these windows. So that's about what we got here. The sides look okay, but the front and the rear are just trashed. And more than likely, a lot of that has come from the termination bar. Up there where the gutter is, there's a termination piece that goes from side to side. It's all the way on the top. It goes from side to side. Once water starts getting in there, and you can see like way up there, that thing's all buckled in and everything. And I don't know if I can salvage it. If I can, I will. And I like to do that because it just keeps the coach looking original. If you put a brand new piece on there, it raises red flags if you ever go to sell it. So, hey, what happened to the front of there? And, you know, there aren't any good RV shops. These guys just slap this stuff together, and I would hate to see someone lose the sale because this raised a red flag and they didn't think it was gonna be done right or whatever, right? So, but anyhow, that's what I'm gonna try and do, but I don't know if there's any damage to it. If there's damage to it and it can't come back looking well, then I'm not gonna use it. I'll just put a brand new one on there. So that's that so far. So let's open some of this up and we'll keep you updated on this Sprinter. So you want to check. These ones seem okay here. These ones. See how rusty they are? They come from down here. So that's what we're going to do. Pull this off and see what we got. See how rusty these screws are? You know you got some problems in that wall. Take out another couple. And this is how you can check to see if you want to buy this coach. You get those shanks all rusted out like that. You know you got some water in there. Here's another tip. Take the lens off. I'd already taken those two out. Actually, that's the screw to it. So that tells you, like I said, that tells you how much water is behind these things. Sorry about this camera bouncing around, but just trying to show you guys some stuff. Hopefully I'm not making you, or gals, hopefully I'm not making you seasick. See that screw? That's corroded. That tells you there is rot in that wall. There's something going on behind there. It shouldn't be like that. And you can do this at any inspection. I mean, someone's not going to get all ticked off. Oh man, he showed up and popped the lens cover. Put the screw back. You don't even have to take it all out. Once you see that, you might as well just go, okay. I mean, when you see them that bad, and you go, okay, we're not going for that big old boatload price. Look at all that rot in there. See? That's terrible. It's pretty. All that rot in there. That is not good. Oh, that's still wet. This is still wet. I don't know if you can see the, trying to see, I get the camera in there so you can see a little water droplet still on the insulation. But this stuff is soaking wet. I'll show you. Still wet. These don't dry out unless you open them up. If you don't open them up and get some air in there, they'll never dry out. We've had this on for a while, and we've been backed up trying to take care of the coaches, so this has been here for at least a few months. And that's still wet, still soaked. Well, she's off now. We got to get all this wet insulation. You can see we had damage up there. Got damage here. So we're going to pull all this. I'm surprised this framing is actually pretty well. But we got to definitely clean this out, get it all dry, make our repairs, and then we're going to get with the back wall and see what's going on with that too. Well, we got to get a fan on here and dry all this out. I'm going to show you what this is like. So this is the Phylon on here, and underneath the Phylon is what they use is this. Well, what this is called MDF. MDF stands for medium dense fiberboard, and that's just a nice marketing way of saying cardboard on steroids. That's all it is. Once that stuff gets wet, it just starts really making a mess of things. So we're going to end up replacing this piece here. We got a couple of holes up here anyways, and you know, I think there's quite a few fractures down the side. So we're going to end up replacing it. And the other reason why is this shape that comes over here, probably not going to get that back to look right. I really don't think I will. So we're just going to put a new skin on it. Most of the framing looks pretty well, ironically, considering all the rusty screws. That side I didn't have all the rusty screws. Obviously right here I did, and I did along the bottom too. All that was all rusty, and I want to check that bottom right there. I want to see how good or bad this is right here. So right now my main goal is to open this up, get some air on it, and then I'm going to mold kill it and make sure all that is good. If that piece, it may be wet but not necessarily rotted, so if that's the case, that's a plus. I still don't like this deal. All I do is put this here, and then there's no strength on this. So we're probably going to make up a few radius like these. We'll make them up and put them all in going across there, And all up there is all foam. So I'm going to see what I can do with that, but I may have to do the same thing, or maybe just bring a piece of sheet metal up on there, which may be an idea too. So either way, but I got to add more strength to this. I've never seen one up there on a travel trailer like this with foam up on that radius up there. That's the only one I've seen like that. It makes me wonder if that was actually done at the factory, and I'm guessing it was because that MDF is stuck to it, unless someone had a problem with it and injected it, you know, themselves. And but I've never seen it like this. Is a first for me on here. And but I guess whatever's easier and quicker and cheaper for the manufacturers. And it may have come all one piece like that when they ordered it, and a lot of times they do that. They order all these pieces like this here, which came from another company, and then they just throw the decal on there. They'll order like the cabinets, they order all that from different vendors, and they just put the pieces together. That's basically all they do. So, you know, you got all these people involved in it that aren't necessarily the manufacturer per se, but it may be another outside vendor. But this is the way they do the ladders. All they do is staple that in there. There's a big gap. This is just holding a light, so that's not the end of the world. But you know, that's how probably most of it's all framed. Is usually they just throw some staples up in here, and the staples, I'm just not a fan of just throwing. There's one there you can see. That's a staple, and they just throw maybe 1 or 2 staples in there. I got a couple of screws going up here to hold this piece into there, mainly because they can't get a staple that long. But that's why these boards are 1 inch, and then the staples are typically 2. And that's all you got holding this together, and they don't usually glue anything together either. It's just kind of there. That's why they rack apart so much. And especially on the front, you need some strength on the front, because it's taking the brunt of the force of the wind coming at it. And it creates like a turbulence, if you will, on the front end that'll shake and rack it all around. And then once it starts loosening up, and your caulking starts loosening up on the sides, then the water gets in there. Then eventually it starts working the screws loose. If they're getting screws or staples, fasteners, whichever, it'll work those loose. Then yet more water gets in, and then now it's a snowball effect. So, but like I said, we're going to get some air on this thing, and then we'll show you what the back looks like since we tear it apart too. But that's my main scope. I like to come in, tear things apart. What do we got under here? What are we up against? And then we can figure out a good plan of attack to try to get it back together. Some of the little tricks that I do, like on the sides here, these are the little pieces that I have. Usually I just tape them, or I'll put them in a box. I got a box over there too for the light and the lights that come off and things like that. So if you do these yourself, you really want to try to keep track of all this stuff, and sometimes you end up losing them. So I just find you tape them right there. Now they're in front of your face. It's not going anywhere. And you go, hey, where'd it go? Here it is, right here on the side of the coach. So especially when you work with a bunch of guys in a shop, you know, you have to keep track of everything. Well, this is what we got on the back wall. You see all that rot there. All the way down here, even that lower piece. And I want to check. We're going to check because see if the frame on the actual coach is a frame. This is a lower part of the wall, but the actual floor, sometimes we have some rot in there, and we'll be looking for that. But right now it's wet, so we want to dry it out. We'll throw some mold kill on this thing, and once it's dried out, it's a lot easier to work with. But the framing itself, this stud, that stud, those all look okay. You can see this corner one is rotted bad, obviously right here. And this is how they put everything on here, on the just staple it on. See, that's their MO. You get that blocker down there, and right up there. That's typically for a ladder. And I don't remember a ladder being on this thing. But no, there was no ladder on it. But at least if they ever wanted to, that's where you would put it, right there. Couldn't put it here because there's a window, right? Can't do that. But you can see that top corner up there is rotted. And what we're doing right now is trying to get the roof off of the coach. So just give you an overview here of what we got. So we got the corner rotted. This is a great die-core roof here. Crummy rubber roofs. So what we do is just go around trying to get all the roofing off, just so we know what's going on. Gonna need a new skylight, because once you free that up, chance of you getting that clean enough to put back on, it's gonna be real slim to none. So, but that's what they want you to do, keep putting more on. That's just a waste of time and money. This die core is made by Carlisle Syntec. And Carlisle makes a commercial lap sealant, self-leveling. If you ever put anything on, if it were me, that's what I'd choose instead. Then at least I know it's still compatible. Dicor exploits people's ignorance to roof systems and keeps telling them to use all this Dicor crap for $12, $14 a tube. It's their cash cow, and they just, again, they exploit people's ignorance to it, take advantage of it fully, keep telling you to put more on, and you know, jokingly I say the only one who's put more on is a moron, right? I mean, think about it though. This is going outside, it's an exterior caulking. Why would it fail in 3 to 4 months? You don't go around your house and caulk your windows every 3 or 4 months. You don't go and put air in your tires every 3 or 4 months. So they know it fails. They don't care. They tell you, that's just the way it is because it's an RV roof. No, that's not the way it is. It's the way it is with them because it is caca. So don't even waste your time with that stuff. Just, you know, boycott it. Really, it's terrible. You maybe do an Instagram boycott Dicor or however that goes. I don't know. I don't do all that social media stuff except for this YouTube. But it's a shame. So like I said, you can use Carlisle commercial lap sealant. But what we want to do is we want to see what the roof deck is like. You can see there's barely any glue on here. There's barely any glue. That is, then the front right here, that's where we took the whole lid off. So that's got some rot on it as well. You can see what we got right there. That's a mess. And boy, that's going to have to get replaced for sure. So we got a little bit of work ahead of us here, but I want to give you an overview of this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Dicor roof if you didn't see one. All right, onward with the show, and I'll chit chat. Got to get to work. You see this thing pulls up. That's just popping right up. We're just cutting it in pieces so it's easier to handle. But I mean, there's nothing to this thing. Look at there. Hey, wait. I think sticky notes makes a better adhesive than what they put on here. We have got the roof deck off of this fine machine. So what we're going to do, the reason why I like to explore underneath here is I want to make sure that these trunk lines, I want to make sure they're all set. I want to make sure they're not breached. Because if they are, and they come apart, you can't put them back together with the roof on. You have to tear something apart, ceiling, something's got to come apart. So that's one reason why I like to do that. The other reason really, and I've showed this numerous times, see there's a piece of metal down inside there. There's a piece of metal. And this wire is going to be moving back and forth. They don't put any protection on it. Now they did have this, which is a pretty smart idea. They had that on top so they couldn't shoot down, which we'll put that back. But there's nothing still in there protecting that wire from that metal ferrule down inside there. And it's real simple. All we do is put these little red heads in there. Call them red heads, bushings. That's it. It's just a little plastic bushing. That's all you need. So to get it just snug down in there, and then that protects the wire. That's it. It's that simple. Easy peasy. But they don't want to spend one more red cent. One more red cent. They don't want to spend that. So we're going to put that back on there. So we're going to go around and check all of these. Here's another one here. We'll get one in there. We'll get that set better. So we just open it up to show you. But here's a real big problem. Is right over there. All the air from the air conditioner is going to go around the sides. It's going to go all around those sides right there, all the way through here. That needs to be tightened up, and probably the same on this other side over here. This trunk line. So we'll have to do the same thing. But otherwise, all the air is going up into the attic area. That's not a good thing. So if you have cold air going up in the attic, and you've got a hot roof deck, you're going to have moisture and you're going to have condensation go in there. So you don't want to do that. And yet here's another problem. All the hot air, this is the refrigerator, all the hot air from the refrigerator has got to get vented out. But yet it's going to end up going back inside the coach. It's going to make it that much hotter and that much more inefficient. So we're going to have to put a baffle in there to get that right. So these are some of the things that we look for. We're going to end up redecking this. You can see also there isn't any glue on this roof deck at all. There's no glue. They stapled it down, but there's no glue. really should be glued down. That glue is going to act as a buffer to help keep the coach tight. And any sort of jarring and shaking and flexing, all of that motion is going to get absorbed by the adhesive. And that's what you want. You want it to have that cushion in there, that buffer, if you will. And then the fasteners just keep it down. If you don't have it that way, if you don't glue the roof deck down, and this racks and twists like they normally do, all it's going to do is put all of that rack and twist motion into the fasteners, and then the fasteners are going to loosen up, and the roof deck loosens up, and then things start to fall apart. Not just on the roof deck, but on the back wall too. So, like, we're going to take this up. We're going to put down some plywood. We had quite a few sheets, anyways, or a few of them, anyways, that were rotted. But we're going to go all around the whole thing. We're going to check everything, make sure it's all set. That's what we do here. So any wires. We're also looking for any insulation if it's wet at all. If there's any wet insulation. Did you find any wet insulation? You say there was a little piece?
Yeah, that brown up there.
There's a piece up here. So we're going to get that out and replace it. But we don't want wet insulation in here. I think it was up there where that stain was. So we're going to obviously replace that sheet. It's going, that sheet of, if it's wet, still wet under there, we're going to put a blower in there. We're going to mold kill it and get it all right. So, I mean, it's been on this roof for a long, this roof has been on for a long time on this coach. These are just smart things to do. When you're already doing the roof, pop the son of a gun up. If you're doing your own, and again, these aren't DIYs, but if you're doing your own, look for those wires that we just pointed out. Look for the AC right over here that I pointed out. You can see this one is the same way. Okay, so we're going to put tape all around there. And the other reason why they don't want to do it, believe it or not, the tape that we use for that, it's $40 a roll. It is some really, really good stuff. But the RV industry doesn't want to spend that money. They'll put it on there. Who cares? That's their attitude. Well, you know, it'll last a year. It'll last a year. That's it. Once they get you a 365, you know, you're done. And also, like you said, check the refrigerator over there. You want to check all those things if you're going to do your own coach, because you're not going to be able to fix them afterwards. It's going to be real hard to get at this. So, so that's us right now. Let's we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to get some decking and everything, and we're going to get this thing all redecked and yada yada yada. All right, we've got our new roof deck going down here. A nice supply of wood. We're going to get it nice and sew it up and really good with a lot of staples and a glue. You need it as glue, a glue. That's it. Change the insulation in there. Everything's all dried out. We're ready to rock and roll. We need to get a roof. Got the roof all decked. Oh, nice. Plywood. Then we had to fix a couple of pieces there. I think there's one on the other side over there, right in the corner, right there. And then you can see all that other booger. I'm going to get that afterwards. But we just we're trying to prep it so we can get the roof glued on here, and then we can work that while the roof glue is drying and we're getting the roof itself down. We kind of keep working as much as we can on different things, you know. If we can get the roof glued, then we just peel that the roofing. We leave maybe a couple of feet here. I'll leave it unglued so we can do our work, and then we'll re-glue it, put it all together after the wall is all built. So that's what we're doing there, and I'll show you what we're doing on the front. All right, so a lot of what you have in the front, there's just that thin piece of Luan. I think in this case it had MDF on the back of it, but that's that fancy word. It means medium dense fiberboard, but that's politically correct way of saying cardboard on steroids. We're going to actually put Luan on there, but there was no strength in there. So if you remember, we had just a board going across there. I didn't like it, so I cut some more radii right here. I cut all those, fit them, they're all glued and everything. Then we filled it with a rigid foam. So I got some strength now, not only for the racking of the front of the coach, but also I'm going to have it strength going, I guess, in force, if you will. Going in force, yeah, we'll use that word. Going in force on there, so I'll have some strength behind the Luan. That's what I was trying to attain, to get some strength there, because I don't want it to just keep taking the brunt of that. And then there, you know, in between those bays and the way they had it, it was just so floppy and wobbly. I didn't like it, so I took all that out too. That's all rigid foam. It's the same on here. This is the same. It's an ISO board. That's a commercial grade, really strong, but we just didn't need to peel the paper off of here. We had to do this here because there's a couple of layers on there, and we just made some radius on it because it's got that curvature, so we had to obviously cut it to fit. Then I fit some down there as well, and there's going to pull it all together real nice. Those aren't even glued in, as you can see. They're not glued in yet, but that's what I'm doing. I'm prepping all this here, and we'll get it all back together. But clean all that insulation up, we'll spray, and then we'll also put the adhesive in there. We'll get this thing tight as a drum. It's going to be really tight, and it's going to be solid. So that's what we're working on the front, and then like I said, we'll get on the back as well. So there's a lot to do on this particular coach. There's a lot of rot and damage and things to take care of. So we also put some new connectors on here for the lights. These are great connectors. I don't know if I ever showed you guys those. Let me see if I find one. I'm gonna go find one and show you what they're like. This is called a Wago, W-A-G-O. And these are your connectors. So all you do is you pop this up, and then you slide your wire in there. So much like a wire nut, how you'd have to put all the wires together and twist the cap on, this, you just strip the wire and you feed it into those holes. Obviously you lift these tabs right here, and then they hold down pretty good. You can actually hear them snap down really good. So although that's like that, again, I mean, I am the type to always err on the side of caution. So on here, the reason why you couldn't see all that orange is because I always like to put a piece of tape on them. That's just the way I do things. They're really tight, but you can get them in doubles, meaning just the two. Obviously this is 3, and you can get them in 5s as well. Now when you order these, if you were to order them, or if you like them, these are, they come in different ratings, so make sure you read the ratings. Some are rated 30 amp and some are not. So these ones, I always buy the heavier duty ones. That's the way I do, just because then I know it'll do a lower voltage if I ever needed it. But these are 30 amp. That's what these ones are. I don't know the series on them. I don't know if you can see it on here. I'll try and get closer and see if it shows anything without blurring out. 221s. And you can see this is a Wago 221. So these things are awesome. And then if you ever had to like replace that light down there, you don't have to cut the wire and then try to get it all back together. All you have to do is just undo in this case, undo the tape that I put down on there, undo the tape, and then you just lift that up if the light blew or the whole thing was no good and you had to replace it or wanted to with LEDs, whichever, but you get my point. You just pop these up and then pull the wire out, feed the new one in, snap it back down. They're reusable. I do like the 3s because a lot of times you hook something up, and we'll say you're hooking something up and you go, it's not working. Well, now the only way to test it is you got to take this apart, that apart. Well, the best way on the triples like this, all you have to do is lift that little tab, and you can put your tester probe in there, and you can still keep everything connected without taking anything apart. So that's what I kind of like the triples for that reason. So, but sometimes you can't get a triple in a certain hole or whatever. So I wallered that one out so you could fit it in there. That's what I did, and I did the same thing on the opposite side, because the opposite side, all the wires come together to feed this side. Over here, they come up, and then they go over that way, and then they kind of zip back over. So I wanted to make sure that there was enough, so I just drilled a bigger hole in there so those number 5 ones would fit. All right, we got the front piece all glued on there. We're gonna put that metal back up on there. Oh, keep forgetting what we call that there. I know it too. But anyhow, we're going to be putting that back on, that aluminum up there. So we got that all glued on. Now we got our roof. We got one side already glued and rolled, and then we're working this side over here. So we're going to get over there and take a look. I'll show you. Diamond plate. That's what it is. Gonna put the diamond plate back up. We got this all glued. You can see we got our buffer strips in there, protective strips. We didn't put one on the back yet and we didn't glue this section because we're going to roll it back so we can work on this back wall, and then we'll glue it all back. And the same with the front up there. We're working a little bit up there. So we're just trying to get the gist of the roof down. And then, but we've got all our protective pieces there. We got them all on the edge as well. So we roll down, everything protects the edge from the sharpness. So we got all that. That's what we're doing. Just coming along. So the glue's all set up. And now we're just going to roll her out. So we just pre-tag it with this roller, and then we're gonna go over it with the big Mamu. All right, so now we're gonna take the big Mamu, and we're gonna roll her down, and we just keep packing her and packing her and packing her. You wanna get this nice and tight. You wanna get this nice and tight. And that's what we're doing over there, getting the pre-tack, and then this one, make sure it stays tacked. All right, so we got this all fixed up. Replace this bottom piece. These are already screwed to the wall, so all we do is just kind of extended this down. Everything's all glued. You can see glued and screwed. This needs to be tattooed. Then we replaced these blocks on here because they were just OSB, and these were in here because I'm guessing there was a ladder that was, it's designed to be able to put a ladder on it. And I wanted to make sure we had good stock if somebody wanted to do that, so we made sure we put that in there. And that's about it. So now we're going to skin it over. This is okay over here. It's just water stain. There's nothing wrong with it, so that's why we didn't change it. And then we're going to get it insulated. We're using a rigid board instead of regular insulation. It gives more strength to it and keeps her racking down, and we're going to glue it in there as well. So that's what we're working on right now. Just gets the adhesive in there, and once we get all that, she's ready to go. All right, we have got our wall all put back together, all the repairs. So now what we're going to do is get the decking on there. So right here, these studs that are coming down, they're already fastened to the wall, and then we joined them and glued them to put the tails on the bottom there. And that's just to bring it below there. And then we'll wrap this underbelly back on it, and then we'll put the sheathing on and all that stuff. But we put rigid foam, you can see in there. The rigid foam is going to keep that wall tighter, straighter, flatter, stronger. And then we glue everything together, so it just helps. Every little bit helps keep these things tight because they take such a beating going down the road. So that's where we're at. This one here, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. We can't probably get a piece of rigid foam in there, but we'll re-inspect. If we do, we'll get one in there. But I'm suspecting there's so much wire in there that we may not be able to. So let's see. Yeah, see, yeah, there's an outlet box there. So we won't be able to probably get a piece of rigid foam to fit anything in there. And I don't want to foam it up because in the event that they ever had to get back in here to do something, it's all going to be all foamed in. It'll be hard to work and get freed up. So that's where we're at so far. We're moving along. What is going on with this Sprinter? He's got Montana-itis. You watch the Montana. We had almost the same problems. Every time we went around, there was something else wrong with it. So whenever we do a coach, just as a prudent courtesy for folks, we get up there and we check all along to make sure that's sealed. That's what we do. So we noticed something looked a little squirrely, and the other thing I didn't like is when I come over here and I pressed, it was real buoyant. And the reason it's buoyant is because all they did was put that thin layer 1/8 inch, and it was just bouncing in here. So I didn't know what was going on, but I knew when we pulled this up in this corner, we noticed we had some rot. So I said, well, the heck with it, let's just take this piece off, because there are a few screws, let's take it off. Let's look inside. When we opened it up, we saw all this insulation was still kind of damp, and it was sticking to the fiberglass. Well, this is the front we replaced. We already pulled it over there. But it was sticking to that. So I need to fix this mess here, as you can see up there. But I'm going to put rigid foam in here. I'm going to make this a lot stronger. So that's it. We already got it open. We had to clean up the Phylon on the backside. They didn't use Luon. They used MDF, which is medium dense fiberboard. Translate that into cardboard on steroids. So it got really wet. So needless to say, we got that squared away. Right in here, we got some rot. This is rotted out. This piece right in here, back in there, about 1 foot or so. So we're going to have to address that. Now, we go on the other side. You can see we got the fans. We've got the siding opened up. With all that going, we got a big blower trying to dry it out. Look at this. Yeah, zooks. So we hit it with mold kill. It's one of the first things we do. Hit it with mold kill once, hit it with mold kill twice. I'll even hit it with mold kill a 3rd time. But you can see that rot up there. I'm doing my best not to make anybody seasick. So you see we got some damage in there. So we're going to try and skin that and relaminate that back together. We'll fix all this mess. Fix that mess. roof deck is rotted. So on this one especially, but we'll be taking that roof deck up more than likely because it looks like that edge is rotted pretty good. So we're going to see what's going on there. So back to slide number 2. This forward side, similar to the one in the front, real soft and everything. We opened it up. It just had a little bit of moisture in it. And you can see some of the discoloration down here, more of water staining than anything. But again, you can push on that. So we're going to strengthen that up too. So this is the one we took the lid off because it was just all molded out. So you can see we got a fan on there blowing everything dry. So come back to the back side here. Another fan going on this side. Another. So it looks like both of the rear portions of the slides, and it may be the way he has his parked that it caused that much that way. But and then we're also going to check the floor on this. I'm not sure about this one. That seems pretty solid right there. I didn't check it in the front. So this is the way they put these things together. So that's the actual interior panel right here. That's what this is. So we're going to clean all this up. Like I said, mold kill, make sure it's all dry. It's so much easier to work with it when it's not wet. At least we can cut and we can do what we have to do to get that. So let's go to this ladder here. We'll take a look at some. So we pulled this lid off because it was all moldy. So this is the ceiling panel we're looking at right now. This is the damage we got here. So all this is all really stained right here on the main sheet, all in here. So we just tore it up. I'll put a new lid on here, and obviously need some insulation. And you can see how this corner is kind of rotted. So at the very least, I'm going to patch that, but we got to make some repairs there for sure. So, but again, we got to get all this. We got to get it all dry. The gaskets were blown, so we're going to get some new gaskets on here. I got some new gaskets in here, so we'll get those on, and then we'll seal everything back up. So on your slides, on the inside, the piece of fascia comes up and it has a little lip that sits down on the roof. They put the screws down. You'll see that it's a metal band right here, okay, and it goes all around the perimeter. That's called the fascia. So like you said, they screw it down. Once you put your roof deck down, everything, get the roofing on there, then what they do is they just squash that down, put some, well, they put some butyl under it, then they put the fascia piece on, the aluminum fascia piece. And then they put the screws in, they slobber it all with caulking. Typically they'll put a piece of tape out there. And from running in and out all the time, that sweep gasket right there irritates it. It just keeps hitting the tape, and it keeps cutting that tape to want to curl up backwards. So that's one of the things we check. So like I said, when we saw all that, we didn't like it. And we were going to try and but that led us to all of this mess. You know, I don't want to send this thing out and have problems with it, that's for sure. But these things are just stapled together. This is just a flimsy old box. It's all stapled together. There, it looks like there's someone put a screw in there. I don't know if that was for a cabinet or whatnot, but I can't see any screws over here on this side or the other side. So you can't see any over on this side. And there's nothing on this side. See if I can show you that. I don't see anything over there. So really all they did was just shoot probably a couple staples in that way. It may have a screw in there if you're lucky. Yeah, see how that just wiggles? So we're going to put some rigid foam in here and we're going to tighten all this up. And the rigid foam it's just a much better product. It's got more R value, and also it helps pull things together. You can actually get a structural performance out of rigid foam. And you know, then there's all different types of rigid foam: polystyrene, isocyanate, you know, which is a lot what we use because that's a commercial end. And I just like isocyanate better because it, I think it bonds better. It's got a paper backing to it, which helps it bond better. You don't have to worry about as much incompatibility with certain adhesives. And the density on it is different than polystyrene. It's a closed cell, where polystyrene is open cell. Now getting into all the science of it. We'll be back. Wow. Too bad we didn't have smell-o-vision. This is, that's mold. So the whole floor got to come out. That's what we're doing now. We're putting mold kill on it. Just so when we pull it out, we want to kill it before we work with it. But we got to redo this whole floor. Wow. That is not a good thing right there. I don't know how bad the other one is. We'll find out. But this one's junk. We were hoping we only had a little bit in here. These are the two pieces that came off of the slide out, the roof here. I'll show you in a second. This one's the only one that was really compromised right there. This one seemed okay, but I want to take both of them up, and I'll show you why. Up on the slide out, there's hardly any insulation. There's no structural strength to this, so it causes them to sag. So we're going to take all this out. I'm going to put some rigid foam in there. We're going to add some strength to it, and then we're going to put new decking on. That's what we're going to do. Looks to be the same on the other side over there. So we're going to end up doing that the same way. Okay. But that doesn't make sense. I mean, that's so cheap. And this one, this is the way we pulled it up. Look how much gap you got. I mean, that's a lot of... basically, what you end up with is a lack of insulation. But when you're running the air conditioner, it's hot out. Now you're going to have that warm, cold air. You can get some moisture buildup in here, which this does look pretty dry, but I mean, it can happen. So, you know, you want to, I'm going to use the rigid foam, which will keep it all together. So we're going to get to cutting that out, clean this up. Otherwise, like the top of this looks pretty good, but all they did here, like on the other side, they just got one screw going in here. So when we put it all together, we're going to staple it all together. We're probably going to get some protective plates for those so we don't shoot through those. And that's that. They didn't do any. I think they do have a ferrule right there. See, they got one through here. No, they didn't staple this one. See, there's no staple on it, so it really didn't have all the strength it needed. So now, like I said, over time, it should kind of want to settle and sag. And they got ferrules through this one? No, because they didn't staple that one either. They only put it on the one they were going to staple. So they stapled this one, and this was one sheet over this way. This was the joint over that way. So they stapled here, over on the, basically the perimeter. That's all they stapled on here. Wow. That CFO, boy, he got that pencil real freaking sharp. I'll bet if he knew they put this many staples in there, he'd probably fire somebody. Gee whiz, look at it, you double stapled that. You need to go find yourself another job. We don't do quality work like that. That's an extra staple in there. Gee whiz. You want to put us in the poorhouse? Let's get to work. We still got to straighten out that one down on the corner there. We're going to fix that too, but we've been coming around the other side. I'll show you the framing on the other side. Here's our floor. Watch yourself. Ta-da! Trying to get the, hold up. Hold back. Pull back in. There we go. Yeah. These are not easy. So we got a new one made up. But this was a bugger to take out. Now let's get it out of here, and then we're gonna. All right, there's the bottom of the underside. You see how rotted this side was. So, ta-da! So that's what you look like. That's all there is to it. This is pretty solid. Just the paper right here is a little rippled, but it's not the end of the world. And put a, I think there's a dinette set. You'd always put baseboard on there instead of tearing all the wallpaper off. So, all right, well, we're going to try and get a new piece in here. This is you can see the inside of the coach. Let's show this rot we got right here. And this is a real common problem, real common. So what happens is, this being the inside of the slide out, this being obviously the out, water will get behind that gasket. Almost every single one I come in. See this gasket here where my fingers are? All right. Water will get in there and it'll leak right down in here. It is a real common problem. I've done numerous amount of repairs, and especially on the floor. And I have done some right on the edge here, but I'm going to try to redesign this because I want to try to see if I can kill this culprit. And what I'm thinking of doing is making it taper down. So if it does taper down, any water gets in, it will shoot out. That's the plan. That's the plan. So let's see if we can do it. I'm going to try it, but I'll keep you updated if we don't. Oh, that insulation. I shut the camera off and I just said, look, this is all wet. All this insulation right here is soaked. That's not even fluffy. So this is still wet in here. It smells like this guy who's standing beside me. I thought it was his shoes, but it's not. It's the insulation. Okay, that's the underbelly right there. That's underbelly, meaning this here. That's what it is. So we got to cut all this. I got to open this up and get some of that out of there anyways, dry it out. Mold kill it. Alright, so we got the piece tore out. We repaired the framing in there, and then we took out all that bad insulation, replaced that. Then I was talking about making a slope down there. That's not going to be the answer to this because there's a gasket that comes up, and even if water got behind it, it would get behind that gasket. So I've got yet another idea that I'm stewing on, and I got to stew on it. But so far, we're moving forward. Got to get the floor in, and then once we get all that, we'll be good to go. All right, we reframed the wall. I think this one just needs a stick inside here. Then we put all new rigid foam in there. Then we laminated the pylon back on. We've got a new metal roof up here. We've got that. I'll show you that just afterwards. And then this side was pretty good. We did the same to the opposite side around the other end. We did that. Let me see, walk around here. Another project we're working on. You can see this side, it was all D-lammed on this slide out. But we did the same over here. Let me get back to it, don't forget to show you. Right here, we did the same thing. We framed this wall, put rigid foam insulation in it, give it some strength, and then we, on the inside, I believe on this one, we couldn't salvage that piece, so we just put a fresh piece of glue on, and they'll have to wallpaper it or something. Again, on this side, same thing, framed. And now this, we noticed that it was all D-lammed, so we want to take it off. Got new floors on both of these. So you saw what we did over here. I did see the problem in the back there, and I'm trying to figure it out where I can get it to not ever happen again, and I'm still working on that. It may just be a piece of flashing. We were going to try to taper it down, but all that would do is just funnel the water back up. There's a gasket that runs along the side, underneath side. It runs under there. So if water did get in there, it would probably funnel it right back in. So we just discarded that idea. It really should have a scupper box, which is just basically a drain. Really should have one of those in there. And I'm going to see if that's possible, if I can either make one, create one, or something. But it really should have a drain, so any water that does get in there is going to come down. And I got another little piece that I'm going to put on here to kind of discourage the water from even going down in there. So those are things we're working on now, but you can see the mess we've got here. And that's what we're working on. This other side of the slide out over here. You can see we did the same thing and fixed all this. So this is what we got left over here to do, right there. So that's what we're working on. Got to skin it, fillet it, and all that jazz, and get it glued back on. Well, this piece out front, the whole thing was delammed. So we just said the heck with it, stripped it off, put a new sheet on there. We're going to glue the pylon back on too. We had to take it down, clean the pylon. I try to keep it looking original if I can without too much trouble. So we took it down and filleted it, and now we're just going to put it back up. Here's our old Sprinter, ready to go. We're going to go up there and take a look at it. We got all the slide out all squared away. I wasn't able to do those little drains that I wanted to, and I don't know if I can even show you on the inside. But through here, on the bottom where the floor comes in, there's a trim piece, and we just fabricated a different one. If I can open it up a little bit, if I can. I got all this scaffold here, and the customer's really eager to get going. But we've refabricated that. What it does is way at the bottom, there's a piece. Every slide out has it. There's a piece that's actually much like this. And it goes in there, and it terminates the siding that comes down to the floor right there. So we took that off, and I made one that ramps up like this. So when the water does come down the wall, it'll hit there and come out. So let's go up and take a look at a, did you get the camping world off? We had some major issues on the other side, and we had to call an engineer and everything. We're going to show you that in a second. We got the back wall done, but this is what we were working on. Just caught our attention. I don't know how it even slipped by. That's the problem. Look at here. Look at this. That is a big concern right now. So we got to figure out a good way to get that off. We don't know if we're going to cut the whole fiberglass out because now it's contaminated with that decal on there. Could possibly scrape it, grind it, I don't know. So that's what we're working on right now. I got to get that off of there. Let's go up and take a look at the roof. If it'll fit over there, yeah, that'll be a good fix. So we got the front wall all done. A little decal on the front. All right, this is us. 60 mil commercial grade TPO. This is Carlisle brand. Then we got 2 strikes of caulking everywhere down the sides. Here. I don't know if that's a different color. I thought it was yours. But we put it on there. It works. Was yours better than that? Looks brand new. 2 strikes caulking down the side. Got some insert trim. This snaps in and over. You can see we've got the cowl in the front. He was wondering if that was his actual one. I think that was a brand new one. But got the piece in the front here, and what that does when the water comes down, I don't want it to trickle back. So that diverts all the water around. Got our stands in the back. Everything's all heat welded. Could use a little better bath, I guess. Got a new lens on here. Plumbing boots. Covers for the vent. You got little stands in the back, so we're pretty much ready to go. Got little gutter spouts on the end. And we've got to get our logo on the back there.